what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to the states with the best and worst geography. I am a little bit ill, or I'm starting to get ill, I'm pretty sure, going into this video, so sorry if I'm sniffling a little bit or coughing. Hopefully it's just allergies, but I don't know, I feel like my throat's actually in pain and it's getting worse, so yeah, hopefully I can continue doing reactions. But if I'm seeming rough through this video, coughing or whatever, I apologise, but we're going to see this video and see which states have the best geography, which I'm going to assume would be... Damn, I need to use my head quickly. I'm just going to say California. I don't think that's the best, but like, I'm just thinking like natural resources. What state is known for having good geography? Well, I want to say California. And worst geography? Probably one of like the desert states, because at the end of the day, what really can you get from them? I guess maybe oil, but yeah. We're going to see, hopefully going to enjoy, and let's just jump into this.
States has an embarrassment of incredible mountains, unbelievable coastlines, awe-inspiring natural features, and just...
Oh, I guess actually we're not going into resources, we're just going into looks. Looks-wise, it will probably be some states in like the Appalachian Mountains, or the Rockies, or just Alaska, Hawaii. Okay, I'm here for this though.
Plain amazing geography overall. And all of these amazing, wonderful features are spread across 50 different states, which means one of these states has to have the absolute best geography overall, right? Well, I did the math and I have an answer.
Ooh.
The best geography is such a subjective argument. Like, who gets to decide whether one state has a better geography than another? I even proposed this question to you all a few weeks ago, and the answers came streaming in. Which, go check out that poll because it's still running and I would love to get your input. All that said, I tried to make this as objective as possible, and you can learn exactly how I did that at the end of today's video. But broadly, each state was given a score based on climate, human habitation, and natural features. So if you think all geography is just pretty mountains or luxurious beaches, you are gonna have a bad time with this list. So with that, let's get to the rankings.
Here we go. And I know these sorts of videos are controversial, right? People see this sort of stuff and get annoyed because their state's rated low, or people think a state's been rated too high when they don't think it should be. It's all subjective. I'm just here. I'd react to all different types of content where it does these rankings, or the best states for this or the worst states for that. I know people get pissed off, but it is just subjective at the end of the day. I guess with this though, I guess actually point of view wise, I mean this could actually be more of a thing that you could actually judge, like number one a lot. Like you could base it off a lot more things that could make it more understanding. But when it comes to the US, there's so many nice like states with nice and good looking geography. It's going to be hard to rank 1 to 50.
Before we start talking about the states with the best geography, I wanted to spend some time talking about the states that didn't quite rise to the top. More to that point, I wanted to talk about the states at the very bottom of the list.
I don't know who will be here.
Seeing as how this is a ranking, there was inevitably going to be a state at the very top, and of course, a state at the very bottom.
Who will be there?
That's just the way it is. But in keeping that in mind, let's remember, the United States is embarrassingly wealthy in terms of its geography. So even the worst geography...
Maybe like, this is a really, I guess, I don't know, Illinois? I don't really think of Illinois as like a state where there's like insane geography and stuff, like mountains or forests, but I'm just going off the top of my head.
State is still
Indiana,
pretty impressive.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. Connecticut, 46.
This is, unfortunately, probably not a huge surprise to those of you from Connecticut, or even those of you from Massachusetts and Rhode Island, who are ranked really closely nearby. The reality is that, despite being located on the Long Island Sound, which is very beautiful, the rest of the state doesn't have all that much going on. In terms of climate, Connecticut can get quite cold and rainy. And while it has many cities and is one of the densest states in the entire country, none of its cities would rank in the top 50 of the United States. And as far as agriculture is concerned, it doesn't produce all that much. At the end of the day, being a small state in the Northeast is a big disadvantage when it comes to geography.
True. Delaware's small again, right? So,
similar to Connecticut, Delaware is a victim of its size and location. In fact, While Florida often gets touted as the flattest state in the country, Delaware's average elevation is actually far lower at only about 60 feet above sea level. So what we have here is a small, flat state with not a whole lot of geography to talk about outside of the Delaware Bay and River. All that said, being within the Philadelphia metro area and having a pretty nice climate overall keeps Delaware from hitting the true bottom of this list.
Nebraska. 5.1.
Farms, as far as the eye can see. In truth, had it been Kansas or Iowa or South Dakota here instead of Nebraska, I wouldn't have really looked twice, as all of them share very similar geographic traits. But when you start to dig into what's actually there, yeah, it kind of makes sense that Nebraska is ranked a little lower than those other three. Being a little bit farther north of Kansas and west of Iowa means that Nebraska is colder and drier. And while South Dakota is colder than Nebraska, its topography is a bit more varied. Nebraska is mostly farms outside of Omaha, and anyone who's ever driven through the state can attest to the fact that there's just not that much going on.
I'm surprised the Dakotas here. I don't know what I thought of them. It says NA Mountains. So they don't even have a mountain range at all. Or nature, not mountains, nature. The nature in the Dakotas isn't good. What? I am baffled. I guess it's just a lot of flat, empty land. When I picture the Dakotas, I don't picture it just having no nature, though.
North Dakota is not even the best Dakota. Of all other states on this list, you'd be hard-pressed to find one as cold, flat, and devoid of interesting geography as North Dakota. And while the state is home to the Theodore Roosevelt National Park with its plateaus and buttes, there's just not much else going on in the state to help it really rise in the list.
Damn.
Instead, without any major cities, a frigid winter.
This image is beautiful. Obviously, this goes to show the US and its natural beauty throughout the states. But this image is beautiful.
It really rise in the list. Instead,
North Dakota, I'm fighting for you guys. I'm fighting for you. I am willing to die on this hill. One of these hills here. I'm willing to die on this hill. I am joking, but it is beautiful, this image, though.
Without any major cities, a frigid winter climate with relatively few freshwater sources, and less agricultural production than its peer states, North Dakota finds itself with a geography that is almost the worst the United States has to offer.
Who is the worst, though? Nevada. So I said desert states. Here we go.
I absolutely hate this. As someone whose grandparents lived in the middle of Nevada, someone who's driven through it countless times and has seen firsthand the rugged, unmistakable beauty of the Great Basin and the desert mountain ranges that cross the state, I just couldn't believe it when Nevada came in dead last. But while the state does have a rugged majesty about it, in almost every other metric, it struggles. Its very hot and dry climate make it inhospitable at best, and its lack of fresh water through either lakes or consistent rivers make establishing any sort of meaningful agriculture almost impossible. There's a reason why the federal government owns approximately 86% of all land in the state. Nobody else wants it. At the end of the day, Nevada has some truly amazing areas. Lake Tahoe and Lake Mead epitomize the kind of natural features you can find within the state. And of course, Las Vegas delights as an incredible sensory experience. But these places are few and far between, and for this reason, Nevada ranks dead last in terms of geography. But personally, I will always love it.
That is quite mad that was Nevada was ranked last. It's just dry. In terms of the geography, it seems like it's got a lot of it. I'm pretty fascinated by that. Again, subjective, but still.
We did the bottom. Now we're gonna do the top. But let's run through every other state really quick.
Massachusetts. Rhode Island. Vermont. Look at this image, though. This music's loud. Let me just turn this down. New Jersey. I don't really think much of New Jersey in terms of the scenery and stuff. Kansas, fair. It's just flat, isn't it? It's like the UK. And Iowa as well. So the New England states are pretty low in general. Maryland. My shout of Illinois might have been the worst shout possible. I don't know why I said Illinois or Indiana. Don't hate me. I was just literally making a guess. There's no reason for that. but I'm fascinated where they're going to be now because I feel like I forgot the actual scenery that's there and the natural geography. Mississippi. Hawaii? No way is Hawaii. Look at, come on. I mean, it's small, but god damn. Utah. Wyoming? What? Okay, I guess it's just throughout the state then, because I was not thinking of Wyoming either. I thought this would be like top 10 or something. Illinois. So what am I missing? Like, what, like, obviously they've got like the, I guess that, you've got like the waterfront and stuff. But throughout Illinois, I'm trying to think of what, like, things that I may have seen before that I'm just missing out on. I guess maybe it's just quite green because the weather is not as extreme as like a Nevada. So it's a lot more green, but then obviously in the winters it gets freezing cold. Who knows? The beach is beautiful though. Oklahoma. Georgia. Indiana, there we go. So my two guesses are now gone. Sorry to my people from there. I apologize. Ohio. Alabama. New Mexico. Kentucky. Michigan. See, obviously it gets freezing here, so I'm fascinated why this, like how, with the weather and stuff, these northern states are still surviving, because that's one of the ways that they're judging this video. South Carolina. Montana. I think Montana is how I pictured the Dakotas, which is maybe why I was confused. Because Montana's obviously quite high on this list. I just thought they were all, like, in terms of the scenery, because they're so, is isolated, not the right word. Just so few people there. It's a lot of untouched land, which I just feel like adds beauty to it, but there we go. Pennsylvania. Tennessee. Right, we're getting to the states that I'm getting more used to with the sceneries now. Arizona. Arkansas. Colorado. I mean, actually, I thought that would be higher. I mean, it's high already, but Virginia. Wisconsin's very high. And Minnesota as well. Huh, I need to learn more about the natural beauty here. Louisiana. Fair. Idaho. Alaska number 8. Damn. I guess it's not hot enough, maybe, the climate. New York 7. Damn. Oregon. Okay, so I guess California would be up here. Did I guess other ones? I think there's a few states in the Appalachian Mountains still to go, I'm pretty sure. You've got California to go, I think Florida and Texas. We've got 10 more minutes as well. Here we go. Turn it up now.
And so, here we are. The top 5 states in terms of geography. Each of these states is truly amazing in their own right, and if metrics were changed even a little bit, each one could have taken over the other. But a ranking is a ranking, and there had to be a number 1.
North Carolina, here we go, baby.
I imagine most people would not have guessed North Carolina would be placed so high on this list. Except for those that live there. Truly though, North Carolina has a lot going for it across every single category. Topographically, North Carolina has a bit of everything. It's home to the highest and most prominent portion of the Appalachian Mountain Range, with Mount Mitchell standing at over 6,684 feet. It also has the most forest coverage of any of our top 5 states, with about 60% of the state still forested. And of course, its coastline is intricate, expansive, and very beautiful. All of this is wrapped in a climate that is quite pleasant overall. And while the state only has a single national park, that national park is the Great Smoky Mountains, the most visited national park in the country by a wide stretch.
Is it? 14 million flipping out. I mean, this place is active. I didn't know it was the most visited national park.
And if you're a city person, North Carolina also has plenty to offer. From the Research Triangle of Raleigh-Durham to the major city of Charlotte and the beer haven that is Asheville, you can start to see why North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country.
Got it all. Florida. For a flat state, it's done well, and it is beautiful. I can't
Florida
lie.
making the top 5 is fairly unexpected because it simply doesn't stand out in terms of its
I mean, like when you consider like the Florida Keys and stuff like this, there's just so many like interesting things about this state.
topography in the same way that, say, Colorado does. And with an average elevation of only about 100 feet above sea level, there's not a whole lot to see along the skyline within the state. That said, Florida does stand out in a number of ways. For one, you'd be hard-pressed to find a climate more pleasant for the country's sun seekers. And with this climate comes a wealth of amazing beaches and coastlines that truly make the state a place where people want to move to. Along with that climate and those amazing beaches, Florida also has a diversity of cities that's almost unmatched by any other state.
It is
From
unreal.
Miami in the far south to Tampa and Orlando and even Jacksonville in the far northeast, the state has certainly managed to capitalize on its geographic elements to establish major population centers.
Like Washington. Oh no, this is. Oh damn, this is we're Washington on the west coast, the north like part of America, but west coast. Washington's really surprised me recently. I knew about it being pretty beautiful, but the last few videos that I've done have mentioned it a lot in terms of the beauty and stuff, and I never really understood. I never really sort of knew about it. Sorry, and now I am understanding it more and more. But Washington's really been surprising me recently, because the weather here isn't necessarily as good as I guess you could say some other states, but the natural beauty there, I guess, really stands out.
This one hurts a little bit because, while I love Washington, I love Oregon even more. But in trying to be as objective as possible, I had to resign to the fact that Washington has one of the best geographies in the country overall.
That is an incredible
And of course, for those of you living there, this is probably not a surprise.
It's raining
With the
though.
Olympic National Park, Mount Rainier, and North Cascades, the state has some very dramatic and very beautiful topography to enjoy. And this isn't even counting the Okanogan, Kettle River, and Selkirk Mountains in the east. Turning to the coast, the Puget Sound and the San Juan Islands make for one of the most unique geographic features found in the country. Overall, Washington state kind of has it all except for one thing: a generally warm climate with few extremes. Still, what it lacks in warm, sunny weather, Washington more than makes up for in an abundance of fresh water, a vast agricultural industry producing much of the country's cherries, apples, and hops,
Damn.
and of course, a topography that just makes you say, wow.
I really need to learn about the mountain range in Washington, because it's one of the mountain ranges that I'm not really as aware of as the other ones in the US, like the Rockies and the Appalachian Mountains. Because the beauty there is obviously there to, like, you can see it, but obviously it comes down to it being, I guess, a lot smaller. So maybe for me, it's just not as well known as the other ones. But Texas number 2.
I'm gonna be honest. I was surprised that Texas rose to the second highest spot.
I'm quite surprised as well. I'm trying to think of what sort of things are in Texas. I just think of it as quite hot, or very, not quite hot, very hot, with some really well-off cities, and obviously it's a state that I'd love to go to. But in terms of the natural geography, I'm trying to figure out what it could be. Maybe like the northern parts of Texas, and maybe on the coastal areas. But
Spot in this list.
we'll see.
Because as someone who's done a road trip from one end to the other, I don't really recall there being much of anything to look at. Despite this, Texas shows up geographically in a number of different ways. For one, while Texas is quite dry and arid, East Texas is far more temperate in terms of its temperature and availability of water. In fact,
Okay.
while Minnesota is known as the land of 10,000 lakes, Texas actually has a few thousand of its own, along with a vast array of rivers that crisscross the state. All of this has
damn.
given Texas a vast agricultural industry where it grows much of the country's cotton, but also supports much of the dairy, cattle, and poultry industries. But beyond all of that, and despite my road trip experience, Texas does have a more varied topography than perhaps its reputation suggests. In the west, the Guadalupe Mountains and Big Bend National Park provide some truly stunning landscapes. Overall, Texas has 515 mountain peaks of at least 6,500 feet,
What?
all of which are in the west.
I did
Not
not
to be
know that.
overshadowed, the eastern half of Texas is also where the major cities are located. Dallas and Houston, each with over 7 million people in their respective metropolitan areas, and San Antonio and Austin, each with about 2.5 million people, make up a
Major
diverse
cities.
and eclectic urbanized region of the state. And all of these cities, but especially Austin, have been growing incredibly quickly over the last few years. More so than almost any other state, Texas truly is greater than the sum of its parts. no one thing really stands out with the state, but combined, they create a geographically diverse state with a lot to see, and that's why it's the state with almost the best geography.
I'm not really surprised. California, and it's a big difference.
Of course, it was always going to be California who would rise to the top of this list. That's probably not surprising to most of you watching this, even if you don't like it. The reality is that California has a lot of everything. So let's start with its topography. If you like warm and sunny beaches, California has it. Rugged and rocky coastlines, also in California. Incredible forests and vast mountain ranges, yeah, it's in California. It even has a very prominent stratovolcano in Mount Shasta.
The fact that you can go skiing in California and then you can go to the beach and like just enjoy the sun, you can probably do that within a day. It's mental. Like, that just goes to show the contrast of what you can do in this state.
Do you prefer the desert actually? California has it in spades via the Mojave Desert. And throughout all of this varied topography, there exists 9 national parks.
Damn.
From the globally famous Yosemite, Death Valley, and Redwood National Parks, to the less famous, but still very impressive, Channel Islands, Joshua Tree, Sequoia, Pinnacles, Kings Canyon, and Lassen Volcano National.
I'm really fascinated by this Channel Islands. I love seeing like little islands off places. Channel Islands. Oh my god, California. This place is interesting. I got to see a bit of this. Because I didn't actually know there was islands off California. That's the first thing. I mean, yeah, it stands out. Just these. Yeah, look at that. Bloody hell. Damn, bro, look at this place. Oh, it is beautiful. I didn't know it had those islands either. That just adds more to it.
National Park. There's just so much varied topography within the Golden State that no other state can really compete. And of course, with this varied topography comes an equally varied climate. California truly epitomized the idea that you can ski in the morning and lay on the beach in the afternoon. It would still take a lot of driving, but it is possible. And through much of California's expansive coastline, there exists the globally desired Mediterranean climate where things never get too hot or too cold. In fact, San Diego, California is renowned for its remarkably stable climate where most days don't get too far away from 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Speaking of cities, California also has a wide variety of urban geography that highlights much of the state's appeal, with Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Jose, San Diego, Sacramento, and even the inland empire cities of Riverside and San Bernardino. There's so much diversity and variety within California's cities. And all of this is neglecting California's agriculture, which basically provides the vast majority of the United States' fruits and vegetables. Because of the Central Valley's incredible soil and the vast network of irrigation, California is far and away the most agriculturally productive state. No state has a truly perfect geography, but California comes pretty dang close. In fact, when we look at the total score, California comes in with 11.9 out of a maximum of 15 points.
Big difference between
which is fully 2.7 more points than the runner-up. For as great as North Carolina, Florida, Washington, and Texas are, they truly do not come close to California, at least as far as this analysis goes. Which gets to the final part of this video. How did I make this list? At this point,
this is what's going to make or break it for people. Some people are going to hate it, some people are not going to mind, some people are going to love it. Let's see.
If you're still watching, you're either pretty pleased with the results or pretty angry at them, which means that you want to know how I came up with these conclusions, either for justification or to poke holes in it. Here's what I'll say before we dive in. I tried to make this as objective as possible, but no list or statistic is ever truly objective, so keep that in mind. Statistics lie. Maps lie. These things should always be looked at with a critical eye regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the results. But let's get into it. All told, every piece of data I used was acquired from various federal government agencies such as the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Environmental Protection Agency, Forestry Service, U.S. Census, and many others. I did not create any of the data myself, but I did bucket it all into 3 groups, each of which there could be a maximum of 5 points allotted to each state. Climate, which would include the most recent Köppen climate classifications, bucketed further into dry, tropical.
I think the human habitation one is a bit of an L, because you'll have state like, is that really geography? Like, I mean, it probably is by the definition. But I'm just trying to think, is the population like? Because that's why I was thinking like places like Alaska or Hawaii. That's got to be way higher. But then again, I guess with population, maybe it doesn't get as close. Although Hawaii population density is probably a lot higher than a lot of the other states. But I don't know, man. It's an interesting one. I'm not necessarily saying he's wrong. This is how he's done the video, and that's completely fair. But I guess that's probably where a lot of the shocks may come from. Maybe that's why Texas was even higher than it could have been. Not to say it's not beautiful, but you know what I mean.
Temperate, continental, or polar climate types. This would also include the amount and diversity of ecoregions as established by the Environmental Protection Agency. Human habitation, which includes number of metropolitan regions broken out by minor metro areas of more than 500,000 people, medium metro areas of more than 1 million people, and major metro areas of more than 3 million people. This would also include the availability of fresh water by number and size of freshwater lakes and rivers, and agricultural productivity as outlined by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And of course, natural features, which is probably what most consider to be geography, but for this list is just one part. This would include the number of national parks and monuments a state has, the square mileage of mountain ranges, and mountain peaks of more than 6,500 feet in height, how much of the state is covered in forests, and of course, the mileage of coastline. All data was then normalized by its total area size so that smaller states wouldn't be disproportionately outclassed by larger ones. From there, it was a simple totaling of the score at the end to produce the results. There are, of course, big limitations to what I've done. I didn't factor in things that are inherently negative, such as the presence and prominence of natural disasters or pollution, just to name one example. So keep that in mind. And if you want to dig further into all of this, well, you can. In the description below is a handy link to my data and
well, here we go. I enjoyed this. I respect the list, and hopefully this doesn't piss too many people off. Geography gotta be California. As a North Carolinian, you don't know the pride I feel for my state being ranked 5 on this random arbitrary list. Any top 10 without Colorado is laughable. Yeah, I mean, Colorado, the mountains. I guess the only thing is, I guess it gets, I wouldn't say extremely cold. It gets quite cold in the mountains, but yeah, I thought Colorado would be higher. Colorado, Alaska. But in terms of geography, it probably would be even higher than just top 10. But I guess with the other stuff factored in, it couldn't make the list or make it to the top 5. If you ask 10,000 people, you'd be the only one to rank Illinois better than Hawaii. Yeah, I was confused by it. I'm still baffled by Hawaii. Based off the comments, people are pissed by this. So in my comment section, I'm assuming people are going to be pissed. Come on, man. Florida, disgustingly hot and humid and flat as a pancake. No thanks. Damn. Florida is a hellhole ahead of Utah. This list is ridiculous. Oh, man. Well, there we go. Let me know your thoughts on this. Obviously, it's subjective. There's going to be flaws in it. But this is just another excuse for me to be able to see more of the beauty in the US. You know what? So that's that. Hopefully you enjoyed. And until next time, let's subscribe.